And hey guys, welcome back to another video on Stats Required. My name is Josh, owner and founder of TrendFX. And today what we're gonna do is a little bit of chart analysis on the last few trades that were taken last week. Alright. So as you can see here, I have my trading history. And this is a good way that you could keep track of your trades for the month or however long you have been trading, to really put down your thoughts on trades you've taken and your reasoning at that point of time, to really look back and see your past analysis, your thinking process. If you ever find yourself in a dump, such as taking back-to-back losses and so forth, you will always be able to reference your trading journal in order to see, well, where you could have went better, what were the mistakes that you made previously before that, and whether you're doing it now, and break that habit and improve your trading strategy and style. Alright guys, so I think a trading journal is something really handy. It comes really in hand to really help push your trading experience and journey forward. Alright guys, so as I said, what we're going to do is look at a little bit chart analysis from last week's trade, and then we'll talk about some setups that we could take for this upcoming week. Alright, so as you see, starting first, we have Euro NZD on the 21st, right, of this month, June. Alright, so as you see on the chart here, this is on the 4-hour chart. What we had was a little bit of a bullish run, and price came into a retest on the support area after breaking out of that resistance zone. Alright, so we were expecting to see some continuation on those runs to continue higher. Alright, that being said, as you can see, we did come out of this trade at break even, and right here we have the reasoning and the strategy. Use break and retest. Price was in an uptrend, a break of resistance and retest of zone fundamental support with Euro hawkish comments. Alright, and this was based on the ECB that we had from President Lagarde's speech. And let's see if we could pull that up from last week. Customize. Last week, the 20th to the 20th to the 25th. Today's what? Yeah, 20th to the 25th, I believe. Alright, let's filter this. Alright, yeah, somewhere around it, right? So we did have some comments from the ECB president. She did say some stuff that came out across a little hawkish to investors. So we were looking for a continuation on Euro NZD, especially with the NZD weakness that we had, with a little bit more risk-off sentiment, right? Investors were looking to hold the more riskier currency pairs, such as the AED and the NZD. Okay, so let's just look at the chart right now. Alright, so as you see, if we go on the 4-hour chart here, we have the same zones marked up. Price came pushed out of that area. We're looking for a retest somewhere around this area right here for that continuation moving upwards. But as you can see, we had multiple rejections from this area right here. Again, this is the 4-hour chart, guys. So really, these levels have a higher amount of significance, especially on the higher time frames. As you go up, these levels become a little more significant. All right, this indicated that for whatever reason, price had trouble to continue that move upwards. And as you see, where it opened, it closed almost right into that same area, leaving a ton of wicks. All right, so that really told us that, okay, for whatever reason, price is seeing trouble to continue moving upwards. Now, if we were to hold this trade, one thing that we would have liked to see is probably after this 4-hour candle, we would like to see price to push above this area and close above it, even if we could have just gotten that a little bit, and then a continuation upwards would have been something a little bit more possible, right? The probability of that happening would have been a little bit higher. But if we go to the 1 hour, what we could see is from that area we had multiple rejections. Price kept on pulling downwards back into that entry zone, and just kept on dipping. All right, so at that point where we saw price rejected from that area again, as you can see, with those multiple rejections, we determined we determined that okay, at this point, most likely price isn't going to be able to continue moving upwards, so we should try to mitigate our losses. Now, at this point, it's about damage control and trying to minimize your risk on this particular trade. Right, so at that point, we put our stops to break even, because if price couldn't push up with this for our candle, then the most likely scenario, the most likely outcome would be that it pushes back down out of the zone, or maybe we might have gotten a deeper retracement into this area right here and a continuation moving upwards. But as you see, price kept on moving down and it kind of started consolidating right here with, you know, barely any real movements in this particular area here. All right, so we were able to mitigate our losses on that. And again, we had a weaker NZD, even though the Euro news, the comments that were made were sort of hawkish. Investors didn't really take that as something they could hold on to, right? It was a little bit more on the dovish side for investors, and therefore they didn't want to hold that euro currency pair, that euro currency. So the price continued moving downwards from that area. Alright, so that's a break even. And you can see we have some notes here. I think I didn't put any notes for that one, but you can see on the others we put some notes. The exit was around that area right here when price came right back into that entry zone a little bit. Alright, so at that point we determined that okay, it doesn't make sense holding this trade any longer. Euro JPY. This was one of the trades that would have gone in our favor, that did go in our favor, but we entered a little bit too early, right? So I believe on Euro JPY, what we did was enter on Sunday market open, and as you can see, let's just go to the daily here. I see the entry point. The exit area is 130.248. So let's just make sure we have on the chart here 130.248, and the take profit is turn 1 to 3, about 1 to 3 risk to reward, right? Actually, I 1 to 5, sorry. Alright, so price was here, we entered here, and we had our take profit here at 1 to 3. We were looking for a deeper retrace, a deeper pullback to the beginning of the move, somewhere at the top of this channel. But let's use this point for now. All right, so as you can see on the daily, what we had, and let me just put this on the replay back. Right, price closed strongly to the downside on this day, and as it continued downwards, you can see we had a retest of that area, right? So that was for the indication of entering for the long buyer setup, which was right around here, because we had multiple rejections again right from that area, and each of these candles represents 4 hours in the market, right? So that just signifies that this has a little bit more significance than if you looked at it on the lower time frame. That being said, what we were looking to see from this area was a continuation moving back upwards, right? Price bounced into this area and then a continuation going back up. But as you can see, price pulled back down a little bit more and then rejected to continue moving upwards, right? So we got stopped out on this, even though the overall bias was correct, because that yen strength didn't really last for the long-term side, right? It was sort of short-term comments. The economy was doing great for the short term. They still had some concerns about vaccination and reopening the country and whatnot. But on the short side of things, everything was looking a little bit more optimistic, which really pushed price to the downside on the yen currency pairs. All right. So I see price found support, continued moving upwards, and I believe on this trade, we had another trade on Euro USD, which basically had the same thing. A lot of bullish comments on the US dollar, pushing price downwards, but then we were expecting a bounce back from that area. I see right around here would have been a possible entry to continue to move along, but again, we didn't want to risk it because we done suffer a loss at that point of time. So really what you want to do is manage your risk at that point, right? This would have been something possible to play up, but with the strategy we use, it just couldn't, be absolute certain, right? Not that anything in Forex is absolute certain, but given the strategy that you use, this wasn't one that fit in that well with mines. So yeah, price continue moving upwards. As you can see, we're somewhere at this point right now. Alright, kind of a consolidation, a little squeeze in this area. So you exit out of that, had a 1% loss on that. Euro USD. Let's just go down to Euro USD, guys. Alright, Euro USD. Had 2 trades on that. Right. So we had a bullish setup on this, a buy setup. When price came right into this area after rejecting from this 1 hour support level, we had foreseen a possible continuation to the upside when price was rejected from this area right here, tested it as support. Alright. But if you look at the chart, what you can see right now is that price was bouncing in that area, and then it came below and it stopped out, right? This for me, however, wasn't a full 1% loss, was probably like a 0.6% loss probably. Not a full 1%, because what I did, I also mentioned in the Telegram group, which you guys could join with the link down below. Alright, I'll put it somewhere right at the corner here. Alright, what I did was I mentioned that if price didn't close above this level here, if it didn't come and close above here, right? So let's just clear up this chart a little bit, right? Let's just remove trend and so on. Alright, so price was right here. I said if price didn't push above this level and close above, which would have indicated a stronger possibility for price to continue moving up, what we would do instead, if it did come back down to the halfway to the stop, if price came halfway to the stop, at that point you should close half of your positions, right, to start mitigating loss. Because if price had enough strength to continue moving upwards, it would have. All right, and so said, so done. So this wasn't a full 1% loss, but still, right? So we were able to mitigate our losses on this particular trade as well, with using proper risk management. But as you see, price came back down a little bit, found some sort of support right into this level here. I don't know if you really call this a level, right? But as you see, price found support here in this area. I continued pushing upwards, and at that point we were able to get into a couple more trades. Alright, and this was another trade taken last week as well, coming to market close. We were able to get roughly 2.4% on this particular trade as well, on Euro USD. Now same thoughts into this, right? Price formed some sort of support right into this area here, so we actually looked to take the trade. It was around here, but I believe when it closed, it was right here when we actually looked to enter, right? Somewhere right here with this bullish push up, which was an indication for price to possibly continue to move upwards, targeting this level right here from where the initial fall started. Well, not the initial fall, but halfway from where the initial fall started, may have started rejecting and continue moving downwards, with the weaker euro and the stronger currency being the USD. Both, however, are sort of on the weaker side of things given the economic data, but we would probably see more bullishness on the USD compared to euro. Alright, so this was a trade for 2.4%, which was really nice, guys. Alright, so we suffered a 1% loss. Again, not for 1%, but I just like putting it as a round even number. Another one was 80 JPY. Again, we just look at it real quickly. Alright, only 1 hour. Price came into this level right here. Looking for a continuation with the downtrend because AED was the weaker currency between the two at that point of time. Alright, so as you can see, guys, what we had, price came into that area, started rejecting a little bit, continue moving downwards. Again, just for clarification's sake, let's just put these side by side. Alright, so it'll be a little clearer to view for you guys. Alright, so price came somewhere into this area right around here. I started rejecting from it. Alright, so we were somewhere right around here, and price actually started to push down from that area again. But as you see, we came to a bullish close, and then price just started continue moving upwards again with some AD bullishness, but that was possibly for the short term. Alright, and I believe what happened here was just because the other currency pairs with the Japanese yen really became a lot weaker, right? Which pushed that AD, which gave that AD its kind of bullish move to the upside. Again, with the economic data, we did have the Japanese yen being stronger for the short term, and the AD as well was on more on the weaker side. However, long term, the Japanese yen is still weak. Right? There is still some bearish economic outlook on the Japanese economy. So that little positive trend that we had happening, right, where price pushed down, I was looking for a continuation of that right around this area, maybe for a short term. Again, I wasn't looking for the move to last, to continue moving too long. But as you see, we never had that happening. We never had that pushback downwards. Could have looked for it to hit somewhere probably around this area and then continue in the bullish direction that it did head into. And now it's consolidated in this area right here. Alright, so that was another L that we took. Alright. But again, we noted why we were actually looking to go into the trade. Price showed some rejection within the downtrend on the 1 hour time frame, along with the fundamentals of the Japanese yen being more optimistic on the short-term side of things, right? With vaccination rollouts, the economy looking up, but we still have some COVID scares and whatnot that really played to the weakness of the Japanese yen. GBP80, I can show you where we got hit for that L. Alright, price just rejected, but it continued moving upwards from that area. Alright, had a lot more room to continue to the bullish side of things. GBP80, guys, as you see, we had two winners on this, recovering those losses in a stitch. Alright, so this area right here, let's just look for it here on the chart. GBP80. Alright, so what we had happening was price came into this zone right here after showing multiple rejections. This was an area where price will possibly tap into again, which is a daily area. If you look to the side here, we have where price came into that zone and then just rejected, fully going to the downside. So I was looking for a possible tap back into that area, which happened for that 4%, that 4.3% winner on this particular trade, right? So as you see, I had price was trending upward on the 1 hour and 4 hour, approaching a daily resistance, looked for a possible retrace back to that level, right? So you look for a possible retrace back into that daily area where price was rejected again and continue pushing downwards. Also, why this move happened and continue pushing downwards bearish down to the bearish side, as you can see with these long full bearish wicks. We had some GBP news around this time here, which was the 24th. So let's just confirm. Right, yeah, the 24th, we had some GBP news, monetary policy statements, and interest rate decision. As you see, they kept the interest rate the same. The banks wasn't talking anything about tapering or raising interest rates or anything like that. They're still waiting to see how the economy is fending with the COVID virus and opening back and whatnot, unemployment rates and all of that. All right. So that being said, that was more of a bearish. It had more of a bearish tone to it, more of a dovish tone, and price push downwards again with investors looking at that little data that released around that time. All right. One thing to note, guys, is when we talk interest rate, when interest rates are increased and positive, that is considered bullish, also known as hawkish for the currency itself, because that means that, okay, everything in the economy is going well. They're able to hike up prices, deal with inflation, decrease inflation, and really it will boost the overall economy. It means that unemployment would also go down, because if unemployment numbers are down, that is considered great compared to if it is actually up. But we had more of a dovish tone again, with no talks about interest rates being increased or anything like that. So price continued pushing downwards, which is why we had that second trade right here for the downside, where price continued downwards from this area here, right? So from that area here, price continued moving downwards, and you see we had a nice win on that. Right, it could have been more, but it's always good not to get too greedy in the foreign exchange market, guys. Alright, price could do some shifty things at some times, so it's always good to cut your losses short when you could, right? Especially when you have realized that your bias is now totally changed, maybe because it had some news release or something like that that shifted the movement of price, or maybe from the uptrend it started breaking downwards, forming lower lows, lower highs, and all of that indicating more of a dovish tone. Right, GBP CHF was a break even. Again, we had that GBP weakness that was happening with the interest rates, and we did expect that from the fundamental side of things, along with the multiple rejections that we had from this area. Price failed to continue moving upwards, so we cut our losses short around that area. And let's just see GBP CHF right here. So I see price was dancing into that area. It came up a little bit to the upside, and then it just rejected and got hammered all the way down. All right, so yeah, that covers it, guys, for the charts, the trades that we did take last week. We also had USD JPY, which was a sell as well. From the 4-hour chart, price came up into this channel right here, right into a sort of a daily zone. So we were looking for a pullback again with the Fed talk that we had with Chair Powell testifying. Had more talks about policies and whatnot, which is not his job. So that was sort of that caused price to do some sort of shifty moves. All right, but that being said, guys, for the USD currency, we do have a lot more of a dovish tone, especially with rising inflation. Fed may have to use their tools in order to deal with it, which would be taken as bearish, right? So really what happening with the US economy right now, the numbers and unemployment has risen. All right, there are more people unemployed right now with the Biden administration catering for people to stay home, and they're also being able to make money. And then there are people moving from one job to different jobs, looking for higher rates to be paid at and whatnot, really trying to milk these companies, right? So all that was playing with the economic data that we had for unemployment. which came out sort of mixed. All right, but for investors, it's not looking too optimistic right now. So I do see a continuation with the bearishness on USD, the USD. But maybe not so in particular with USD JPY, as these two currencies are more on the weaker side of things, right? So you might just see some consolidation between the levels, something like this, right? And probably no real movement. So I'll be looking at this trade, probably move my stop down into the break even zone or something like that. So really take the risk off and see if we could get a possible continuation. Alright guys, and that's it for the chart analysis of last week. Hopefully you learned something new. Why fundamentals is also really good to pay attention to, right? It's really important to pay attention to fundamentals and when there are news happening, right? Because one thing to look at the chart, guys, right? It's one thing to do your technical analysis, and it's another to understand what actually moves the market. Because what moves the market isn't technical analysis. It isn't us. It's not retail traders, right? You, I mean, myself, or even those with bigger accounts, 2 million, whatever. We aren't the ones that move the market, right? We are the ones that ride it. We ride the momentum, we ride the direction. All right. So yeah, the ones that control the foreign exchange market are the banks, and this is another topic that we'll get into. But again, this is why fundamentals is always something that is so good to pay attention to, because it could help shape your judgment and your bias on these currency pairs. All right, especially when the technicals may align in one direction, but again the fundamentals is different. Such as, for example, right, we had the GBP CHF, right? Overall at this point, and let's just put this back on the replay, right? Overall on this point we were bullish, right? We had more reason to be bullish because price just broke out of the zone, and we were looking for a possible retest right on that area for a continuation moving upwards. Or even if it came any lower, we've been looking for a retest somewhere around this area right here for that continuation moving upwards, right? So fundamentally, technically, when we look at the charts, this is the expected outcome that we are looking for price to come bounce into this area right here, reject, and continue moving upwards. Because technically, that is what we see in price broke out of an area of resistance, meaning that it has more momentum to continue moving up. However, when we look and we see what actually happened, price came, right? So we got that bounce, continue moving up again. Right, we got some little movement back down, a push back up, another nice push back up, then a close down, boom, wick all the way down. Right, so at that point you'll be wondering, but how? Why this is happening to me? Right? I'm positive that my technical analysis was on point. I did not miss a beat on my technical analysis. It was perfect. My strategy technically was perfect, but fundamentally you didn't have one, right? And that's one of the main reasons why traders continue to fail out in the forex market, all right? Because they neglect to pay attention to fundamental analysis. They neglect to pay attention what's going on in these economies, right? Because forex trading is very different from stock trading, right? In stocks, if you're holding positions and you keep on buying and a flood of other people come in and start buying into this stock, the value of it is going to increase, all right? However, compared to forex trading, right, we don't really know when these news events are going to happen, right? We do have rough estimates given that there are these specific dates when some of these events are going to happen, but there are also times when some strange stuff will happen by itself. Maybe in the news, a new policy was just made and given out that would affect price or an economy and so forth, right? And the big banks are the ones that really control the forex market space. All right, they are the ones with the majority of say, with the large liquidity needed to actually trade and make price move, not us. We just ride the wave. So that is one thing that you should pay attention to is fundamental analysis, especially when you do have high impact news. All right, stuff to note in terms of fundamentals that will always impact um, currency pairs or currencies, interest rates, unemployment changes, unemployment numbers, and CPIs. All right. Also, BOJ statements, BOA, and so forth. Right. That just means bank of whatever statements that are to come out. All right. These are things that would affect the movement of price because they do have a direct impact on it. Alright guys, so that being said, hopefully you found this video informative. Leave a like on this video so that other people would be able to also see it as well. Hit that subscribe button to be notified about more upcoming videos. Again, I'm really going to try to start pushing more with the YouTube thing and really try to make it more entertaining for you guys, because forex trading, hearing somebody talk about the charts isn't the most entertaining thing, right? So really keep your attention. You have to be dedicated and focused on this and disciplined. But that being said, guys, yeah, leave a like, subscribe if you want to see further future videos, and yeah, see you guys in the next one. Hopefully everybody has a very wonderful week upcoming. Yeah guys, see you in the next one.